Meeting of the 16th of April 2019, and welcome very, very large contingent we have in the gallery tonight. The meeting will go through to approximately 2:30. Please get comfortable, and I'm sure that you'll all remain here till after that. Now, look, a special welcome to, I think it's members from the Conservatorium of Music. I know some people are from the Come Together Choir, correct? And right, so welcome to everybody. And I just say, in the event of an emergency, the building may be evacuated. You will be required to vacate the building by the side entrance and gather at the designated emergency muster point. Under no circumstances is anyone permitted to re-enter the building until the all clear has been given and the area deemed safe by authorised personnel. In the event of an evacuation, a member of council staff will assist any member of the public with a disability to vacate the building. All councillors and staff are required to speak into the microphones. You may need to move your microphone a bit closer to ensure people up the back can hear. Can you hear me up the back? Thank you. To ensure you are heard and recorded on the live streaming, your microphone will glow red when it's picking you up. 1.1, apologies for absence. Oh, Jason might be just running late. This council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at the council meeting that you ensure you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording will be made for administrative purposes. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders both past and present of the Wiradjuri nation and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present. Does any councillor wish to declare any conflicts of interest in any matter for consideration at this council meeting? That is a no. There is a late item. It's item 2.1, which is a mayoral minute, re grey-headed flying foxes, Cook Park. Someone move that they've included. Move Councillor Duffy. Move Councillor Munro. All in favour? Oh, thank you. Now, the council will adjourn now for the conduct of the open forum. We have two speakers tonight. First of all, we may do Mr. Peter Naylor, who is the show president. Mr. Naylor.
Okay. Thank you for giving me the chance to talk about the stables. I'll give you a brief rundown on what happened with our stables at the showground. What happened 14 years ago that the stables, the roof was blown off the stables. We talked about fixing up the stables. There was willing people around town to virtually try and fix them all up. And virtually with council staff and the show society, we decided that they had to come down. So they virtually came down, and then we started hiring the stables for every show. I thank Orange Council for the amount of times that we've had hired the stables. So you can imagine the times that we've had them. The reason why we hire stables is because of the OH&S and the problems with the public of Orange walking around and the horses. We're dead scared that they may escape and run over someone, the same as what happened over at Canowindra with the balloon festival. I hated to have that because it all changed after that. So the reason why we have the horses at the show, the only way people can get to the Royal Easter Show is they have to go around all the shows and get points. So you get a point and then you can virtually apply to go to the Royal Easter. So there's people coming from everywhere, and you find now with the drought, there's more people coming around here to our shows because of one reason, it's the cost. So they turn up here, they try and get their points. They use the stables. We like to encourage to use the stables because of one reason. We know everything is safe, the public of Orange and the horses. So that's the reason why we use the stables. There's a ruling around that we cannot have electric fences at the show. Because you know the reason why, I don't have to explain that. So that's the reason why we have the stables. So I have seen people turn up on Friday and virtually they have stayed to Monday using the stables because of one reason. It's easier to get home on Monday, so that's the reason why they do it. I was at the show years ago and there was a young girl and I always remember it was 6 o'clock in the morning. She was dressed up with a horse. The horse was dressed up and she was dressed up to kill. She never had she rode the horse to the show. Reason why, she was a local girl. She had no vehicle to take a horse to the show. Put the horse in the stables. She virtually stayed there for the 2 days, and you know how she went home? The same way. Slept beside the horse. That's the reason why we need stables, because people cannot afford to virtually have all the big setups, and when the horse turns up there, it's under stress. So that's the reason why they take them out and walk them around. And that's the reason why I'm trying to push for the stables. So that reason. Yeah, so I hope you can consider the reason why I'm standing up here. It's hard for me to talk, and that's the reason why. And the reason why it's gone on for so long, because we felt that we needed to spend the money on something else. The Naylor Pavilion, that is the reason why we haven't got stables over at the showground. The society and the council felt that it needed to go into a better place than a stable around the showground. I just hope, and this is all what I'm trying to talk about, thank you for the money for the toilet block, or to help with the toilets at the Naylor Pavilion. This is the 3rd year we have hired toilets. I know we've been working, we've got the costing for the toilets and that now. I hope I don't have to stand up here in another 14 years. You know the reason why. We need that too. So thank you for letting me have a talk, and I hope you decide the way I feel we need those stables. If you'd like to ask me a quick question, I'll try and answer it.
Thanks, Mr. Naylor, and can I, on behalf of the council and the community, wish you every luck with the Orange Show. It is a very, very important part of our history and our culture. And can you pass on our gratitude to all your hard-working committee also? Sure, the weather will stay fair and fine, and you'll get a great crowd. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
The reason why we haven't charged the people because I can't remember, Glenn, because it's been that long ago. Like, we had 2 places where we're going to put them, you know, in Margaret Street, right down the end. We're going to put them behind the caravan park. And then there was the Camp Truff Ring. There was going to be stables there. And then it went by the wayside, like I said before, because of we're trying to get more things done at the showground than the stables. We can go back through our files. We can find all that.
Yep. We'll get those and get those out, councillors. But I think the main thrust of what Mr. Naylor was saying tonight, I'd like to reconsider funding for some temporary stables for the show. Up the last council meeting, but we'll certainly get out that file if I can, just get that file out and the costings and the design of the permanent stables, because something down the track we're going to have out there. Mr. Naylor, unless there's any other questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Naylor. Our second speaker is Donna Isles on behalf of the Orange Regional Conservatorium. Thank you, Donna.
Well, good evening, Mayor, councillors, council staff, guests and some of the ORC family who are here supporting us tonight. Thank you. Thank you most sincerely for the opportunity to talk to you tonight about Orange's Regional Conservatorium. My name's Donna Riles and I've had the privilege of serving as Director of the Orange Regional Conservatorium for 7 years, as Head of the Keyboard and Schools Liaison before that, and as a music educator in Orange since 1984, when I was appointed to Canobolas High School as a 21-year-old graduate of the Sydney Conservatorium. I'm extremely grateful to have enjoyed a long and rewarding career here in Orange in music, to have raised my family here, to have enjoyed the riches of the geographical, social and spiritual aspects of our district. I say this because, like me, others have chosen to move, stay, retire or raise their family here too, because Orange is a vibrant music and artistic centre and because there is a regional conservatorium here. As a not-for-profit organisation, the Orange Regional Conservatorium, or the ORC, is one of 17 in regional and rural New South Wales, supported in part by the New South Wales Government through the Department of Education. We thrive on being able to deliver high-quality music education, experiences and performance to people of all ages and backgrounds in the Orange region. Under the Conservatorium's recently reviewed strategic plan, which you have a copy of on your desks, following extensive consultation with our members, our stakeholders, our students and staff, we believe we have proudly established ourselves as a leading music education organisation in New South Wales. We are ambitious about the future of the Conservatorium. Our vision is to inspire, create and enjoy. Our purpose is to enhance the cultural life of the region by providing quality music education, experiences and performance. Our values are integrity, inclusion and excellence. And our goals are to ensure that music and the ORC are a valued part of the culture of Orange, to attract and retain quality teaching staff, to engage the community, to deliver excellence in every aspect of our business, to sustain financial viability. These goals all serve to propel our desire to be the state's best. So it's here that we find ourselves closely aligning with the strategic direction of the Council and the Activate Orange blueprint that you have for the economic future of our city. We are committed to working with Orange City Council to ensure together we can enable Orange to be the powerhouse of inland New South Wales. As importantly as ensuring sports and recreation facilities meet a growing need in Orange, so too does the creation and completion of the Arts Precinct in the Culture and Creativity Corridor close to the CBD. Council has identified the need for the provision of such a recreational, educational and tourism asset in the city, with the Conservatorium Planetarium project begun with concept plans commissioned in 2015, further expanded with explicit plans and a pre-DA approval in July 2017. The consultation process was inclusive and well led, with all stakeholders given the chance to contribute to what will be a world-class facility and an Australian first in concept and design. We are shovel ready. We've got some beautiful plans that I brought along here tonight and I'm sure you're more than familiar with them. But why is it important to build such a facility in our region? Well, the Council has valued the importance of the Conservatorium in our town for over 30 years. We're very grateful for that. It has demonstrated this by supporting the organisation in a cottage just out here behind in the current council car park, and then a second cottage behind that one. And next we've moved to the former Plymouth Brethren Church, the site we now occupy in Hill Street. Then under the Rudd government Building the Education Revolution initiative, we added additional studios and refurbished the auditorium. However, now we're to the point where this building is no longer adequate, witnessed by deteriorating infrastructure, shortage of parking and access, or due to its location on that battle axe block, inadequate toilets and a foyer, rehearsal and teaching space, heating, hospitality facilities, and pour green rooms for acclaimed visiting artists. We are almost at breaking point. Recent concerts have sold out and we've had to turn guests away at the door. With the development of a new world-class state-of-art building funded by a suite of government grants, we have the opportunity to build and embrace a cultural first for the people of regional New South Wales and complete the music component missing from the arts precinct in Orange. Despite the shortcomings of our current building, the strength of our organisation is found in its people. The professionalism of the teaching and performing and conducting staff and their ability to work collaboratively in a passionate manner for the benefit of their students, ensemble members and for the greater good of music education. We believe that incredible teaching and learning experiences are undertaken every day with outcomes that see people of all ages and stages rise to achieve personal goals beyond their own expectation through the unique programs we offer. With professional people moving to Orange in increasing numbers and realising its potential in food and wine and employment in mining, health, government services, the DPI, medical professionals, agriculture, all choosing either to live, retire or stay here because of its rich cultural offerings and because there's a regional conservatorium. In addition to this, according to the research already undertaken by Council, figures from the Bureau of Statistics and a few of my friends in local real estate say that 1 in 4 calls fielded about purchasing property in Orange are from Sydney-siders looking to move here with young families, seeking first of all employment, second schooling, and third lifestyle and culture. And with Orange's population, I think at 43,000 and growing at 6.58% yearly, it's outstripping other centres such as Bathurst. Just last Friday, for instance, we were visited by a family from Sydney who were taken on a tour through the conservatorium, and after overcoming their surprise at the state and nature of the building, were delighted by the offerings, the resources and the programs the conservatorium has. They remarked how affordable enrolment is and how there was nothing that could compare to this in Sydney. At the conservatorium we employ 38 people, teaching staff, conducting and administrative staff. There's a statistics sheet that you'll see inside the strategic plan too that indicates that not only do we employ 38 people, but we reach out to over 12,500 people every year in concerts and events that we run. And by way of example, I'd like to introduce a colleague of mine, I think he's here tonight, Laith Ismail, originally from Iraq. He moved to Orange with his family in 1996 and in that time has valued the chance to work with high quality musicians. He has plenty of opportunity to perform and he also assures me the food and wine and lifestyle are better than anywhere else. His output and influence on lives in our city is not to be underestimated. In addition to this and his stories, the ORC has had 4 students accepted into music degrees at Australia's top universities in 2018. Professional musicians and teachers are choosing to relocate to Orange to engage in the vibrant cultural life here. 3 members of staff and 1 OAC member have OAMs for service to music. Our brass teachers have...
I'm just going to have to get an extension of time. Councillor Munro, Councillor
Getting
Patera, all in favour? Aye, thanks.
I'm nearly done. So I'm talking about the achievements of our staff. People from Sydney are moving who are quite high professional players. And I'll go on to say that our outreach programs to schools and preschools, aged care facilities are valued and needed by the community. We're identifying more opportunities to reach out to mentor, teach and assist community-based projects as they arise. And the regular delivery of professional learning courses to classroom teachers is in growing demand at the ORC, with us having the capacity to work with the Department of Education and the Music of Eva to deliver courses in schools with demonstrations and so on. Excitingly, the ORC's membership base has doubled this year and we're well over 100 in our membership now. Our community highly values the quality of the music that we offer and the music that is hosted in the redeeming feature of our old building, the intimate and acoustically pleasing 185-seat auditorium. We are proud of the concerts that we can offer that serve to stimulate, challenge and educate rural and regional audiences. We're proud to share the space with other community user groups as well. We have community support, and I just wanted to make you aware of the overwhelming number of letters of support that have been written about the process of the building from groups such as Musica Viva Australia, the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, the Orange Eisteddfod Committee, Arts Out West, Orange Regional Arts Foundation, New South Wales Department of Education, who are all behind us in their support of eventually moving into a new building in Orange, and along with that are the programs that we run. For instance, in March 2020, we hope to bring the Australian Doctors Orchestra to Orange. 60 to 80 players will travel here from around Australia, and as they do each year, they work a wonderful concert and perform for locals, and in the process of doing that, return the money that they raise from the concert to local charities. They'll stay here, they'll catch a Rex or a corporate plane, they'll hire a car, they'll stay in one of our boutique motels, they might even book a seat for their cello in the plane that they fly in on. They'll eat in our restaurants and cafes, and some will extend their stay, I'm sure, to enjoy their cellar door experiences. Sydney Symphony Orchestra comes regularly in the same way to sold-out audiences at the Civic Theatre. Sydney schools come to the conservatorium in busloads, coming to work with our conductors as they tour out west. And just as an aside, I'm really grateful that Council has worked to improve the facility out at the Scout Camp so schools like these can enjoy staying there rather than staying at Bathurst and moving on to the Lake Burrendong Recreation Centre. And as recently as yesterday, of course, we understand that Orange is poised to host a Day on the Green, further music credibility for our region. So in conclusion, I just thought about tonight, I was thinking what a wonderful place I live, and when I drive through the Towak Valley, for instance, I think to myself, I'm really lucky where I live, and that others should have the right to enjoy the same opportunities and career advances that I have had living in Orange. This rapidly growing, culturally diverse region subliminally also offers rich relationships and sense of community as a result. But it's not about what goes on inside the walls of the conservatorium, but in the hearts and minds of the people that engage with each other there. We are already a thriving and valued community organisation. We just need, with Council's help, a valued home. This shared and unique facility would allow us to achieve our vision of reaching out to an even larger growing population. We could have more ensembles, more community engagement, more employment, increase the potential to work towards shared goals with museum, the theatre, the library, the art gallery, planetarium and museum. Imagine outdoor concerts and events uniting the community. So can I ask that we do not allow our delegations to Canberra to be in vain? How can we help you, our civic leaders, and leave your long-lasting legacy on the cultural blueprint of Orange? I hope that generations that come behind us will be grateful for your vision and your commitment. I'd like to leave you with a blessing. May these long summer days be peaceful. May the hurt of the year fade away. May our love and our labour be fruitful. People become less afraid. May respect be stronger than judgment. May forgiveness be stronger than pain. May the rain fall again in due season. May the passion to sing never wane. May the passion to sing never wane.
I might just say a few words. I'm nearly stuck for words. It makes you proud to be part of Orange when you see such a strong community group that we have here with such dedication. And Donna and all her staff, Trevor Hazel, who over there, the chairman of the board at the moment, makes you realise why I was so proud to be chairman for many years and I've only just stood down. I'd like to move tonight, I know I can't, but I'd like to move that we write out a cheque now for the whole lot. I know that's... but I am sure...
Donation to the City of Orange, and I have 12 other witnesses that Councillor Turner in his retirement has just agreed to fund the Conservatorium of Music. Big hand.
Bounce, but anyway... I'm sure that once we get the silly season out of the way, we've got the state election out of the way now, we're about to have the federal election out of the way, Who knows what the outcome of that will be? But we will be going back down to Canberra. We will be going down to Macquarie Street. This has given us, I'm sure, renewed energy tonight to make sure that we do get the new conservatorium and planetarium on the site that has been chosen and has been supported by council for the last couple of years. I am sure that we will now have new energy to make sure that we do lobby the state and federal government and make sure the conservatorium comes to fruition.
I say, Councillor Turner, I think it is important to point out that Orange City Council's support for this has never ever been wavering. In fact, looking back over 30 odd years ago when it commenced, it was the support of this council, even though it was in some cottages. I remember very, very well former mayor, who's no longer with us, was very responsible for the building that you're in now. And that was quite visionary at the time, I can guarantee you, and to get that through council. And I think the important thing is that it's grown, and it's grown very, very quickly. It's gained a great reputation. It is an important part of Orange. This council, I know, has supported totally the plans for the new conservatorium and planetarium. Councillor Taylor and I go back a long time. There's been many discussions, many debates, many looking at plans, but % support. There's never been wavering. I think the most important thing is that now that we know where we want it, we know what we want. The most important thing is now is getting that funding. There was the visit down to Canberra. That lobbying continues to happen at both a state and a federal level. I can guarantee you, everyone in the gallery tonight, that continues to happen. But the most important thing, they're political decisions, and we can jump and yell and scream and do all that we can, and I can assure you that will continue to happen. I think once the federal election's over, those sorts of things will continue, and hopefully, I'd love to see before the end of this year some grant funding come forward, whether it be from the state, federal, or a combination of both, or in conjunction we can go down and see them now that we have this gracious offer from you, Councillor Turner, to add into the mix, that will come to fruition, because that would certainly really set off that civic square that we have out there with the library, the gallery, museum. It would just make it perfect. So thank you one and all for going out of your way to coming this evening. I can guarantee you on behalf of all the councillors here and all the staff, you have our 200% support. Thank you. Excuse me. We need confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Orange City Council held on the 2nd of April. Move Councillor Nugent, second Councillor Munro. All in favour? Aye. Against? Thank you. Notice of motion. We have a notice of motion, the Australian, first of all, notice of motion, the Australian Local Government Association Alga election.
So we're dealing with that one, Mr Mayor.
That's exactly right.
Okay, I'd like to move a motion that Council endorses the Australian Local Government Association's federal election initiatives that include better support for infrastructure, communities, recycling, Indigenous communities, climate change and more. Happy to read out those 12 initiatives there if people need, but I'm assuming that everyone's had a chance to have a look through that. So I'd like to move that motion if I have someone to second it.
I'll second it for discussion.
Seconded for discussion, yep.
Okay, thank you. I don't think this is a particularly difficult one or controversial one. The Australian Local Government Association has prepared this document, which is attached. 12 ways to deliver for Australian communities. The main heading is "All politics is local," which I think is a good message that all government really starts from the local level. they've identified a number of initiatives that they think we should be focusing on or that we should be advocating for, both the ALGA as well as individual local governments. And there's a number of really, well, they're all sort of important things, I think. I think we'd all probably have different priorities. We'd place different priorities in different areas. But, you know, things like promoting healthy community, fostering Indigenous wellbeing and prosperity, digital transformation journeys, strengthening Australia's circular economy in terms of our recycling crisis. They're all things, and of course supporting our communities with their climate change response. They're all things which I'm pretty passionate about. There's a number of good issues there that have been raised in relation to freight routes, local roads, and repairing federal funding to local government. To me, this is quite an important document. The local government New South Wales has a number of time in their weekly newsletter encouraged local government authorities, councils in New South Wales to formally endorse these initiatives. And I think we should be doing that. I think we should, as a large regional council, we should be taking a lead here. We should be endorsing this. We are very active already in ALGA conferences, which there's one coming up in June, as well as in local government New South Wales conferences. And this is another way that we can emphasise the importance of local government and the importance of properly funding local government. And it's not just a wish list. There are real economic benefits that come out of this. The estimates are that if these 12 initiatives were implemented, there'd be 8.97 billion in national GDP benefits, and it would create an estimated 24,000 jobs over the first 3 years. So I'd like to move that we formally endorse these initiatives and this report by ALGA as we enter the current federal government campaign.
A couple of things. Wales Road. I'd say if you lived at it. Funding anomaly out at Tibooburra.
We go.
Okay, well, I'll just refer you to page 30. Yes, it's a South Australian issue. There's a particular anomaly there in terms of the way funding is allocated in South Australia. I don't think it's looking at removing or taking funding away from other states, but addressing that anomaly, very hard word to say, in South Australia. So page 30 gives a very quick overview of that.
Well, again, second to my question, I think there's a road funding anomaly across Australia that's discussed at a lot of these meetings, and that's to do with fuel excise and the percentage of it that comes back to the actual individual states for road funding. I think I'd support that, but I can't. I support 1 to 11, but I can't support addressing just the South Australia road funding anomaly because I don't really completely understand it, and I think it should be address the Australian road funding anomaly. I don't know what other council. It's my thought. You may, Councillor Duff. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, listen. This is not rocket science. This is, as you said before, it's on the table. It's not inventing the wheel. ALGA is a body to itself. It doesn't have to answer to its members. They can put forward what they actually, the executive can put forward what they actually like to the federal government and or or the opposition of the day or the party members, whatever they so fit. But the biggest thing that I notice is not there is the recognition of local government in the Constitution. That needs to be there. That's the biggest issue. It's the biggest issue. It allowed direct funding straight from the federal government to local government, without any interference from the state government. So I think that needs to be that's probably the one big issue that we need to raise. And I'm sure if we raise that as well, the executive of the ALGA will put it in amongst with a lot of other resolutions that come up in them, and they combine them and put them front to us. So I'm happy to support it. I mean, the National Road Congress, they point out each year that there's something like $660 billion. I mean, don't quote that figure. Shortfall in roads in across Australia. So, but they mainly look at the corridors for business and all those type of things. But to me, I mean, it's much of a muchness. I have no problem in supporting it. I agree with you on item 12. I mean, let's put it right across Australia. But the issue of local government it should be added to that as well.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Any other speakers?
Funding.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look,
Councillor
I'd particularly like to reinforce number 7, which is looking at supporting local government to actually have more to do with improving the health of our populations. Again, as we are the closest level of government to our communities, it would be fantastic to see this type of program as is proposed for $100 million over 4 years, and the economic benefits are quite clearly stated there. But if we look at Orange in particular, we are overrepresented in a number of key issues in terms of the health of our population that council may be able to work on if we had appropriate funding. For example, Orange has approximately double the preventable admissions to hospital as based on data from our primary health network. That's also double of the COPD admissions, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. But there's also non-hospital based issues which we could take action on. Orange is about double the rate of women who are smoking in pregnancy. We're all aware of the impacts that has on the children. So if we can look at local government having better funding for a place-based preventative health and activity program, that would do so much to support communities across Australia, and I would like to support these 11 statements. I do agree the South Australian road funding anomaly is probably not really Orange's bag, but the others I wholeheartedly am behind, particularly item 7 on promoting healthier communities.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look,
Councillor.
look, I support the spirit of all 11 points, but I think what Councillor Duffy said earlier is the fact that at the end of the day, we as New South Wales councillors report to the Minister in New South Wales, and until such time as we can, and this is a lobbyist arm, which we're a member of New South Wales, and New South Wales is a member of the federal. Really, irrespective of what we think about what comes down to New South Wales government when they get the money from the feds and how they're going to distribute the money and not what programs they're going to use it for. So all of these are really valid points. I'm happy to support it, but really it's until we get constitutional recognition, it's really a document that doesn't go anywhere. Really, it's used as a lobbying mechanism. Once the monies go to the states, they will decide what programs they're going to be used for.
Thanks, Councillor Wynne.
Mr Mayor, can I just make a comment? Could I ask Mr Mayor, the General Manager, to if we could negotiate or have a discussion with the ALGA as regards to where they're at with the recognition of local government in the Constitution. I think it's been an ongoing thing all the way along, and I think if being consistent, if need be, we could raise it again.
I'm sure it's on their list, but I'll check it out.
Check if it's on it. If it's not on the list, perhaps we'll put a motion up to go to the ALGA conference. Is everyone happy with that? Okay. Councillor Nugent.
Close the debate.
You're closing the debate.
Okay.
Now, don't lose it.
I was just going to say, yes, I think we should, we certainly should raise the matter of constitutional recognition at the ALGA conference this year. If it's not already raised, I'm sure it will be. It has been discussed over and over again. In terms of the 11 initiatives, or the 12th initiative, I'm happy to, I don't feel that strongly about the South Australian road funding anomaly, but so I'm happy just for us to endorse the first 11 initiatives in the plan, and I think each time a council discusses this issue, and each time a council does endorse this, it just strengthens the weight, the negotiating weight we can have. And in terms of, you know, the Commonwealth versus state, the Commonwealth, yes, the Commonwealth allocates funds to state governments to be allocated to local governments. So, you know, that's where we need to sort of start in terms of lobbying the Commonwealth government for funding, appropriate funding to address those issues such as roads and those other issues in the 11 points.
So we're moving, endorsing 1 to 11.
Happy to the inclusion of.
Yeah. Okay, all in favour?
Aye.
Yes, thank you. General reports. Item 5.1, recommendations and resolutions from the policy committees. Favour?
Aye.
5.2, statement of investments.
Move it.
Seconder? Councillor Prevatera, all in favour?
Aye.
Yes, thank you. 5.3 is development application DA 372/2011, 261 March
Move, Mr.
Street,
Mayor.
Dudley, private hospital.
Second it.
Seconder, all. Councillor McRae?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I guess my concerns with this development application relate to, you know, there's been a little bit of talk in community over the last few years about hospitals and parking. So just getting straight some of the information here, but we have a net loss of 10 car parks at the site based on this DA, which I understand is still compliant, but I think it's important to note that there is a net loss of 10. From my reading of the papers, perhaps if I've got it wrong, please staff let me know. And it really sort of, you know, might make a bit of a rod for our own back again. It is different to our Orange Health Service hospital parking issues. But I'd also like to ask whether there's any provision for bicycle racks in relation to encouraging active transport. I'm not expecting the residents, the actual patients to be riding to and from the hospital. But I think for both staff and visitors, it's certainly appropriate, and particularly if we are talking about a net loss of car parks on the site. As we've heard tonight, doctors are musicians. I'm certainly aware that doctors are also cyclists. And I think that provision of bicycle racks would be appropriate. I believe we had a condition added to the Carrington Hotel development. Perhaps staff might consider whether a condition similar could be added and whether that could be read tonight as inclusion to allow for bike spaces. Is that an option?
Bike racks or bike spaces?
Bike racks.
Can I just ask a question first of all there? The bike racks. I find it very, very interesting the amount of bike racks we've got around with no bikes on them. And I have never seen a doctor, and I'd ask this question, I have not seen a doctor riding to Dudley Hospital, which I go to a lot.
There are no bike racks there,
encourage
Mr.
them to
Mayor.
ride.
So bike racks there, so if there's bike racks, they might ride there.
Have you seen that hill going up to Dudley?
Yeah, mate, comment.
Have an heart attack coming to see me.
Staff that
Bike
work there
racks,
as
I'd
well.
go past.
Well, there'd been no problems with attaching a condition of consent. You're right. In relation to the development across the road, we attached a condition late there that indicated, and I've just got that one out, which is maybe something that might be palatable. The applicant shall install a bike rack within the development site for use by both visitors and staff. The bike rack may be located either internally or externally to the buildings on the site. Bike rack must not alter the approved layout of the parking spaces nor impact upon the car park operations. Plans shall be amended to indicate the location of the bike rack prior to the issue of a construction certificate. So there's no problem. We can add that in if that was the wish of the council.
I'd move that be added to the conditions.
Mover and a seconder. Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, just a general comment as regards to people riding bikes and using bike racks. I mean, I drive all over town down here. You go down here to the one in front of the Canobas, never anyone there. Probably might see one there every 6 months. And then you go out the back out here. How many bike racks are out there now? There's plenty of staff here tonight. How many rode in tonight? Very rarely there. It's a deluxe cover and everything up there. There's never anyone there. You go out, remember the McNamara debate we had in here about what was the bike racks up there? How many up there? I think it's about time we had a bit of a look about what we're actually providing.
Councillor Romano.
Mr Mayor, I agree with bike racks. Councillor McRae, I don't have a problem. I do have a problem, but that we as a council impose these things on building sites once they're built. I think that we should go back to the builder of the hospital and ask him whether it will impede on his car park spaces. Because I know there's restrictions on how many car park spaces are required. So I think we should look at talking to them first, whether they can put a bike rack in that won't upset the parking, because it can be very expensive to a builder if they've got to put bike racks in to take one car spot out, and then it becomes a bit of mincemeat. It becomes complicated. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr Johnson, but I think that's the way it works.
Oh, look, the nature of the condition that I just read out, that if council was comfortable with placing it on there, was to indicate that it'd be clear of the car park and also be clear of the car park operations, and that the applicant would be required to come back prior to the issue of a construction certificate, just showing where it could actually happen on the site. And look, there'd be plenty of spaces where we could actually entertain such an idea outside the car park, and it also, the condition indicated that the bike racks could even be provided internally within the building if that was possibly practical.
I think that covers that.
I'd be happy to support it, but I think it's protocol to actually ask the builder whether he could include them. I just don't like the fact that like somebody mentioned the building across the road. Oh, it's great, but can we get these bike racks put in? I hear the mayor say, Councillor Duffy, there's bike racks out here. I've never seen a bike. So I get the point. I mean, I support bike riding, but I just think sometimes we come across a little bit heavy-handed to builders. Let's talk to them and negotiate. That's what I think.
Councillor.
Dear, oh dear, Mr Mayor. I mean, I'll say it's what a wonderful development. $6.8 million. Here we are talking and debating bike. For heaven's sakes. I mean, look at the health precinct in Orange. Employment it provides now. We've got that wonderful private facility going up out there. Here we go, another $7 million investment in Dudley Hospital, and here the whole debate. It's a bit like a couple of weeks ago when the debate, $15.7 million worth of funding we applied for, and we got 20,000. The federal member and getting 20,000. Headlines were we got 20,000. Nothing about the 15.5 million that we welcomed. Developers should be congratulated. It enhances the health industry in the city of Orange. And here we are, we're talking about, you want a bike rack, put a bike rack in, and I'm sure the developers won't have a big issue. On bike racks, there's one up there next to Woolworths. I think I asked for costings on that a couple of years ago. They never came back, the costings, mind you. But I'd still like to know how much it cost. I don't think I've seen a bike on it. Leave bike racks alone, and congratulate the developers on what again is going to be a great facility for the city of Orange. Put a bike rack. You want a bike rack? Put a bike rack in.
Councillor McRae.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to respond to a couple of comments, if I may.
You're speaking.
In relation to the use of bike
Councillor
racks.
McRae, you're speaking for or against the motion?
I'll speak for the motion with a question as well. One person's lived experience is not a metric of reality. Now, I can state that I have ridden my bike to this council chamber, perhaps not for a meeting because it's a bit late, and sometimes Orange drivers aren't good with cyclists on the roads at the best of times, so at night I tend not to ride. But I've just disproven that the bike racks have never been used because I've actually used that bike rack. And I'd also wonder whether Councillor Duffy, perhaps the cyclists avoid your bus route in terms of the safety and
good on them.
But if we're talking about a fantastic development, as I agree Councillor Taylor's reiterated, we do need to ensure that we are planning for the future of the city, and active transport should be a part of that. Until we have that embedded in our future policies, then adding a construction compliance statement requiring a bike rack somewhere appropriate to the choice of the builder, I don't think is a stretch too far for the future of the city.
I think that'll close the debate. Councillor Nugent.
Yeah, look, I'd just like to speak in favour of the amendment to include the bike rack. I also have written...
So they look at a bike rack.
Yes, that I think we're talking about a condition, placing condition on the
I read
approval.
it. Can you read
Additional
that?
condition that
Can you just read that condition?
will install a bike rack within the development site for use by both visitors and staff. The bike rack may be located either internally or externally to the buildings on the site. The bike rack must not alter the approved layout of parking spaces nor impact on car park operations. Plans shall be amended to indicate the location of the bike rack prior to the issue of a construction certificate.
Thank you.
I'd also like to challenge the idea that's often repeated in this chamber that no one rides bikes or no one uses bike racks. I see bikes tied up outside the library on a very regular basis. I think we should have through the Sport and Rec Community Committee. We've done a lot of work in this area. We've got the active transport. Thank you. Right. Plan. So I think we should be encouraging it. There are other staff that work at Dudley other than doctors, and I'm sure some of them would welcome the opportunity to ride a push bike. I also want to just commend Councillor Taylor in terms of speaking about this fantastic development, this facility and the extension of the existing facility. It is a great, new development, additional hospital medical facilities for Orange. And I also want to just commend that I'm often standing up here banging on about the loss of trees. In this case, we're going to have a net increase in trees as far as I can tell. We're losing 4 trees, but there's going to be 4 planted along the western boundary as well as some plantings along, and Councillor Romano is obviously very happy to hear that as well, along the northern boundary, protecting neighbours from neighbour and also giving from noise and also giving some privacy. So, I think it's a fantastic development and happy to see it come through.
Can I just make a comment? And we're talking about bike riding. I would love to see us very, very active, or the state government active in getting kids to ride bikes to school, which is interesting. I get around all the schools in Orange and I think I'd be lucky to count a handful of bikes at any school in Orange. And if you, at a young age, if you're using a bike and riding to school, I think that's a good way of changing things. I can't see us changing too many 60-year-old plus to ride bikes up to Dudley Hospital.
Mr Mayor, just a quick question. I suppose my children ride bikes if I'm driving a bus behind. But anyway, the condition that this won't go ahead unless they put a bike rack in, correct?
That's my impression too.
It's the council.
I think we should change that wording to suggest.
Move an amendment if you like.
I'll move an amendment that we change.
I'll second that, Councillor.
Yes.
Hold it just until we get the amendment. Sorry.
Just that they would put a bike rack included in the. That's my.
I guess the way in which the consent operates is to whether or not there is a condition of consent that the applicant would be compelled to do, as opposed to perhaps a note to applicants suggesting that they look at or consider or implement. So then it may or may not happen.
That's my amendment.
Join Councillor Hamling. Got a seconder? Councillor Munro.
I agree with Councillor Hamling there. Look, if they consider it, they want it, they'll pay for it. That's the business that they're in. They're there to build a development. They want a bike rack, they'll put one there. If they don't, they won't. I think it shouldn't be our job to impose things that we think they should have. If they think it's relevant, well, let them do it. If they don't, forget it. As far as I'm concerned, I agree with Councillor Hamling.
Councillor Whitten.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I was going to say the same thing, that this is not a public facility. This is a private facility. Right. Yes. Now, I'm all for supporting. I hear that we've got bike racks in the library and the parks and all those sorts of things. Sure, make them available for people to ride within the city. Because some organisations don't encourage riding to work for insurance purposes, right? So they need to be able to consider whether it's good for their business to be available. They'll make that decision. If they think it's good for their community and their customers, put a bike rack in.
Councillors, can I just let the speaker speak, and we don't need catcalling and encouragement.
It's the gallery over there, mate, the opposition. That's the opposition. Thank you.
On councillors.
So I think. Look, I support the spirit of the bike rack, but I think it should be left to the owner of the business to, whether it fits into one of their insurances. They may applaud it and say, yeah, we never thought of that, let's put a bike rack in. But to make it a condition, then it makes the waters a bit muddy, and I think I agree with Councillor Hamling that, yeah, let them consider it. It's not a condition.
I think we've had enough debate. We've got an amendment and we've got a motion. People are familiar with both. Put the amendment first. All in favour of the amendment, raise your hand, please.
The amendment.
The amendment is Councillor Hamling's to suggest to them.
What was the wording?
They put it on as an
Consider
advisory
1,
note as
2,
opposed to a
3,
condition.
4, 5.
Hang on.
You got your hand up or not?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The amendment becomes a motion. All in favour? Aye. Thank you. We've got 5.4, which is development application 3 Redmond Place. Vehicle repair station, warehouse or distribution centre.
Move the recommendation.
Second it.
Murtry, can I just say we don't want bike racks here?
Sorry?
I'm not going to move that we have bike racks at this facility, just confirming.
Thank you very much for that. Right, do we have a mover?
Seconded it.
Mover Councillor Turner, seconded Councillor Munro. All in favour? Hold it.
Sorry.
Yeah, Councillor Nugent, we were just about to take the vote. I asked was anyone for or against. Please just pay attention to it because there was a pause. People were given the opportunity to speak for or against, but I'll let it go this time.
Thank you very much for your kindness, Mr. Mayor. Can I just ask a question about this? We got in the background information, which there's references to the possibility that people have been occupying this site for overnight accommodation. It also talks about we have reason to believe that the occupant is operating the vehicle repair station without consent. Then we turn over the page to page 137, and the recommendation is that we consent to the development. And there's no further discussion about those apparent sort of breaches. So can I just ask a question in relation to our enforcement policy? Is there going to be any follow-up in relation to those apparent breaches of operating a facility without a development application? We spent a lot of time going through an enforcement policy recently. Is there going to be follow-up action?
Yeah, there's two separate issues. As council's aware, you adopted the enforcement policy. Council staff are working through this one with regards to the enforcement policy. We've been in touch from a corporate perspective. We've been in touch with the local real estate agent that manages the particular premises. There's been an inspection carried out of the premises. We've been given advice that there is no such illegal use of the building as for residential purposes at this particular time. This particular development has not proposed residential development of the site, and there are conditions of consent that are being recommended that limit it to the use that it needs to be. There are other allegations there that the building had been occupied without consent, various different elements of it. We're continuing investigations with respect to that. I understand some equipment was purchased for the tyre fitting business. And that is ongoing at the moment. So, yeah.
So it's on.
An ongoing investigation will arrive at a point under the enforcement policy as to whether or not we wish to go any further with that or not.
Okay. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Thank you. 5.5. I would like to move an amendment here that this be deferred until such times the councillors get a briefing on this application. Second to Councillor Duffy. Councillor Maletta.
So I was just going to move the same motion, Mr. Mayor, and through you, I'd request that the relevant director give consideration to arrange a briefing session prior to us coming back to the next council meeting. Like a number of other councillors here, I certainly couldn't be comfortable in making any decision based on the information which has been provided. I think it's a bit light on in some areas. I certainly don't recall any meetings where the issue of rezoning had previously been discussed for this precinct, nor have I viewed any master plan where a supermarket or the like was being proposed. I guess what concerns me about this in its current format is that rezoning is an extremely important issue, especially given the current state of the economy in the CBD, and also taking into account current and future proposed upgrades for the CBD. As Chair of the Economic Development Committee, I believe that all councillors should be afforded the proper opportunity to consider additional information, and hopefully that will be provided. Thank you.
Councillor Whitten, Councillor Duffy, then Councillor
Yes,
Whitten.
thank you, Mr Mayor. I just I feel the same way. I think we need to have a really good look at this. Number one, we need to have a look at the actual traffic impact of what this type of thing could occur. We need to have a look at the actual impact it could have on our own CBD. We've seen what happened with, for God's sake, North Orange. You see the traffic issues up there, what goes on there. And we actually see the businesses growing, getting a little bit bigger up there. Look, we talk about the Woolies getting bigger and bigger. Same thing may happen here, but I think we need to understand it more, because I think given the chance, this council would make a few big adjustments up at North Orange if it had the opportunity. But let's not make the same mistake in the south. Let's make a more informed decision.
Thanks. Councillor Whitten.
Mr Mayor, look, I'm happy to support the deferral. I was happy to move the motion to pass it, actually, because I do remember as part of our LEP some years ago, I can't remember how long ago, Mr Mayor, one we did for the 25-year forecast, this was actually in there as part of that area of the new hospital and the DPI land and all that sort of stuff. This was actually muted in that LEP. So I personally think it's probably something that would be needed for the future, because it does state in here that it's not going to be actually be developed until such time as they get something like Shirley starts progressing and the subdivisions out there start growing. But certainly with that health precinct out there and that new building in the old drive-in area, I think this would certainly complement levelling up, because I know that North Orange is and has caused us problems in the past, but you've only got to go there and see how well it's used. It is well used and people love to go there. Has it impacted on the CBD? I don't think it has impacted on the CBD. When North Orange was muted several years ago, and I was the chair of the Chamber of Commerce at the time, I was a bit worried about it, I should say, from behalf of the CBD. But I think it's proved that people, when they shop, they spread their money around. If it's close to their home, they'll go there first. If there's not anything there or it's too busy, they'll come into the CBD. The beauty of the Orange CBD is that it is like a giant mall anyway, because we've kept it that way over the years, where we've stopped it spreading into Kite Street and Byng Street. We've sort of kept it in Summer Street. So really it enables people to walk, and it will do again once the Myer facility is open, to walk from the southern side of Summer Street to the northern side of Summer Street, and then vice versa to the different shops, like it has done for many years. As winter comes, they don't walk as far. They stay inside the malls. And so certainly I think this has got a lot of legs for the southern part of Orange, but I'm happy to defer it to allow councillors to come up to speed.
Councillor.
Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Sorry.
Much the same as Councillor Whitten, I was prepared to support this tonight, but I'll go along with the deferral. One of the reasons I was going to support tonight, we've already technically approved a shopping centre area within the DPI research station land. I don't know, there's been no plans of it, but there's been some indication that we would support a shopping centre within that area. We've on the plans for Shirley, a shopping centre there, and part of the reason I was going to support this tonight was this proposal is in front of us. The one at the DPI it's a proposal, but it's not in front of us here tonight. It's not there's no development application. The same with the one at Shirley. It's somewhere down the track waiting for people to move into the Shirley area. I was going to support this tonight as much that I would see it as a positive move towards development south of Orange and would help Shirley move forward. I thought it would also help some professionnals, GPs and any of those involved in the medical profession, that there is life in the old drive-in site. As far as we've all seen the new hospital, and some of us have been out for the topping off ceremony. This would help to bring life into that precinct and make sure that it is going to be successful. We all go on about how we're going to be promoting a medical centre of excellence for the whole of Orange, etc., etc. But I understand there is some hesitation from some specialists and some doctors in moving out there. No one wants to be first, so to speak. They all want to be sit back and see if it's going to be successful first. And I thought this would help give that positive image to the whole precinct of the old drive-in site. And you know, and they say 20 or 30 years' time, or 24 or whatever it might be, when the kindergarten may be there and the 150 units or whatever. The whole thing eventually will be an absolutely exciting area and all add on to that medical precinct. And we don't know what development is going to occur on the vacant land behind the old Bloomfield Hospital, or the new hospital that's there now. There's a lot of land to still be developed there yet. So I just saw this as supporting the owner of the precinct there, and supporting the builder, and perhaps if it came forward soon enough, the builder would still be there rather than leaving and having to come back after it's finished the main stage 1 of the hospital. But it looks like the deferral is going to go through, so I will support that. But I certainly will support the proposal, whatever form it might be after the deferral, because I think it's going to be part of an exciting growth part of Orange, and something that we'll all be very proud of. Saying to visitors, have you seen the new development out opposite the hospital, etc. We're all already saying that now with the development that's there already. So let's get on with it and keep this city growing. And
right.
You know, I will support the deferral.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, look, I agree with both Councillor Turner and Councillor Whitten. I'm fully supportive of this, and I agree with Councillor Turner on the fact that I think it'll enhance it. I think that what we have to accept as a council, and I'd be happy if it was moved here tonight to support this. I think what we need to do, I think we tend to be thinking a little bit in past. I can remember as a kid growing up, I mean, the boundaries of Orange were Matthews Avenue. And I said that James Sheen, it was in the back blocks. There was an old wooden bridge out there. There was no houses at all. Yes, totally single lane. Look at it now. And what we need to do, and you need to realise that precincts, as they will develop, they do need their own facilities. I mean, it's a security of distance thing. As I say, when I was growing up, I mean, it was all orchards, farms, and up out past Matthews Avenue there. Go out the end of William Maker Drive now. Drive back into the CBD. That's a very substantial trip. So the North Orange development, I can remember when it was first touted, it was going to decimate the CBD and such. But what it's done, it's serviced that area. Be the same, and I've seen it as going to be necessary. You're not going to be able to do that type of development on that scale out there without providing some sort of community. So I have no problems with it. I'm happy if it's heard. We'll have a briefing of it and get some more information, but it's quite extensive. I mean, I read the majority of this, and information's all there. I can't see why we wouldn't be dealing with it tonight, but anyway, that's the council that we defer it.
Rightio, I'll speak next. Look, the reason I moved for the deferral is a number of reasons. One was that what we actually approved, look, there's no argument about all of us being supportive of this precinct out there and the health precinct and the expansion of it. There's no one anti-developed, there's no one anti-this. But what we approved initially was, and I remember the discussions in this chamber, was about that there would be minor retail activities, including a convenience store, right? Newsagent, hairdresser, mother shops, restaurant, takeaway food, drink premises, and down the road a motel. There's a big difference between a convenience store and a supermarket. And if you read through this, it says a supermarket and then an extension of that supermarket. I think there's serious discussions to be held there with our CBD revitalisation program, number one. If you look on page 169, it even says to us from the Director of Planning, there are key issues that should be addressed and looked at. That's the economic impact on the CBD, traffic and parking. If anyone can tell me that we don't already have a traffic issue and parking issue out there, let alone thinking seriously about accessing and egressing, I'm not talking about the private health hospital or anything like that. When you start talking about a supermarket, you're talking about a lot more traffic and traffic moving in and out. Huge amount of traffic moving in and out of a supermarket. Have a look at any of the supermarkets in Orange and have a look at where this is situated. Have a look how close this is to the traffic lights and another set of traffic lights. We just had that road upgraded out there to address one major issue, and that major issue was access to the hospital and access and egress to the private facilities out there. Now, the implications of our Forest Road and the Agricultural Research Institute, I agree we shouldn't even be talking about them because it's out there, it's for them to come forward with whatever. The timing and the control of stage 2 is important to discuss, and I've got a lot of questions I'd like to ask. And, you know, that overall direction and vision of the broader Forest Road area. And I think they're really important planning issues to discuss at a briefing session where we can ask our professional staff those sorts of questions, because there is a big step from, as I said, from a minor retail activity, which include the convenience store, to a supermarket. Now, we've just had debates, and I'll bet you every councillor in this room has been rang up by someone in the last few weeks about EW might be going, and this supermarket might be going and closing down or whatever. Just recently, and now we talk about saying here that we're looking at, I reckon quite interesting here. I don't understand, and I'd like to ask the planning staff, what's the difference between a small supermarket and a large supermarket?
About 10 million.
Is it 10 million, 100 million, 50 million? How much floor space?
That's what they're
How
building.
many car
They're
parks?
building.
That sort of. So that's why I moved for affirmative of this, so we can have those discussions and everyone can ask their questions. It's not about anti-development in any shape or form.
So, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor,
has got a question.
I'd like to move an amendment because I know yours is now the motion, deferral. So yours is the motion to defer. I'd like to move an amendment to approve it because
I'll second.
I agree totally with what you're saying, that, but this is just for rezoning purposes, and New South Wales Planning might come back to us and knock it on the head anyway, right? When the time comes for, if this was to get up through New South Wales Planning, if they were to approve our amendment to the Environmental Plan of 2011, then all of these things would come back to council as development applications, and then we would be able to scrutinise them at that point and say all of the things that the mayor's just debated about, traffic issues, about what's going to go there, whether it's going to impact other parts of the city. Certainly the rezoning of it, we could probably get the wheels moving on that because it might get knocked on the head anyway. So I'll move a motion that we approve.
Amendment.
And I second it.
Amendment. Sorry.
Amendment.
Okay, Councillor.
Have a bike rack, right? Sorry.
I'd like to speak in support of the amendment. We often talk in this chamber about supporting development. Why put up another hurdle and a time delay? I agree there are some issues of concern, but this is actually fantastic that we have somebody wanting to rezone to potentially build another supermarket for Orange. Where's the despair in terms of retail when we have people wanting to build more? Let's let the developers do their job. Let's approve it tonight. Get on with it.
Yep, I agree. I think it's important that we support development in every shape and form, go through its due diligence. Let's please move the concept this evening and let them go for it. I think jobs. Orange will grow. Need to expand on it. Want Orange to be a larger city, especially on the southern side. We need to give a little bit of confidence to business, to developers to buy Kirralee area, back of Forest Road, wherever. We give them confidence to make an investment, get houses built there, which means jobs again. So, what?
Councillor Munro. Councillor Nugent.
Look, I just want to ask a question in terms of the process that that would follow if we were to support the amendment tonight. I mean, I understand that there are a number of steps, but can I just have some clarification about what those steps are?
And would be the recommendations there.
Sorry?
The amendment is the recommendations on page 170.
Yes, I realise that, but it doesn't specifically talk about going out on public exhibition, doesn't specifically talk about what steps are involved.
That's
so
right.
I can ask through you, Mr.
Doesn't. That's exactly what happens.
Can I still ask you through you, Mr. Mayor, what the steps would be?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Basically, this is a planning proposal that's been put forward to council for consideration. If council was of the opinion to support the recommendation tonight, way process with the Department of Planning. The documents are sent to the Department of Planning. There needs to be an endorsement of, and then to be satisfied of a number of issues being covered off at the time before they will give a blessing for the application to move forward. At that particular time, there'll be arrangements made for a public exhibition process whereby the community would have the opportunity to comment on the development. There'll be community members that may support it, may not support it, etc., etc. Following that community consultation process, further reports need to be furnished to council that address, I guess, a number of the issues that have been raised tonight, and would be a comprehensive report on the impacts of the development on the CBD, the impacts of the development on potential impacts upon traffic, etc., etc. If the council was to adopt that recommendation at that particular time to support the rezoning, it then moves off to the department to make and gazette that particular plan. Once the plan's gazetted, it then forms the basis of, I guess, future development applications that would be coming council's way. Those development applications drill down to the detail of I guess, the impact of the development in terms of parking, in terms of traffic, in terms of economic development, etc., etc. And then that's the basis of what would eventually come back to council at that time. This project here is two-staged at this point. Initially, it's to support a supermarket of around about 1,600 square metres plus 400 square metres of mini major and 800 square metres of other types of shops. In the first instance, that I guess the recommendations that have been given to you tonight have been underpinned by a retail strategy that has been lodged with the application, and that's been subsequently reviewed by Peter Lation, who was council's retail advisor, who has given the recommendation of the impacts to allow, I guess, the recommendation to you now. So,
Johnson, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if there was a deferral, when would it come back to council? When would be the nearest time it would come back to council?
I'd like to see it come back next council meeting.
Briefing session.
Now and then. Anyhow, that's up to staff. No other speakers, so I'll put the amendment. The amendment is as on page 170. Recommendation, okay? All in favour? Against, show your hands. The amendment becomes the motion. All in favour? So I want mine recorded, thanks. I would like mine recorded. You hear that? Thank you. Right, we go on to 5.6 is a review of the 2012 community-based heritage study.
Happy to move it, Mr. Chairman.
Moving to seconder. Sorry, excuse me, I just lost my...
In moving the motion, just a little bit of an offshoot of what I was going to speak about. I just want to be assured there's going to be a community-based committee to actually look at the area.
Sorry? You want...
With me. You with me?
Just can you repeat the question, please, Mr. Duffy?
I'm fully aware what this is actually doing. This is an itemised on the actual buildings itself, but just wanting to make sure that if there's in the future when there is looking at the area to be rezoned, or not rezoned, but in expanding the heritage area, that there will be a community-based committee. There's a bit of a sidelight to this one.
I might take that point on notice for you. Basically, the what was contemplated, I think, in the initial stage here was to carry out a media release in relation to the councils into conducting a heritage review of the existing study. That was going to, I guess, entail then, I guess, a series of public workshops with the community in the first instance, where they would make opportunity or make have an opportunity to raise a particular precinct that might need to be reconsidered, or a particular item that might be reconsidered, etc., etc. Following there'd be, I guess, an investigation or an analysis of each one of those items or those documents that would be forthcoming to the council. Moving on from there would be that would perhaps potentially lead into ultimately a report back to, I guess, the council. And if there was to be some sort of committee that would have a look at that, that's where I could talk to perhaps Gary or what have you about that. That report back to council. Council would then, if they were of the view that they would support the various different items after debate, that would go on public exhibition. Following the public exhibition, it would be report back to council. If the council's, whatever council ultimately adopts there would form the basis of the document that would inform an amendment to the local environmental plan. Going to be along those lines. If Gary would like to add anything else.
Obviously, I think the answer is yes. It's going to involve input from the community through workshops, and on top of that, there'll be a report back. So if there was some concern about the spread of the study, could be dealt with at that stage.
I just have a supplementary question, if I can ask you, Mr. Johnson. Back in on the 7th of June 2012, we had a council resolution supported the expansion of the heritage conservation area. Right? And when I read it, so to me that was formally adopted by council, but in reading in this, it sort of indicates that could be coming back to council. Well, and then, sorry, later on it says the council adopt the proposed conservation area as a draft policy, but I've got a resolution 12-235 of the 7th of June, which endorsed. So what is it? Is it have we endorsed a draft, or we
that's
endorsed?
Basically my question. I mean, it wasn't. I can understand what's actually happening here, the actual item of the buildings, but it is expansion of the network.
Yeah. I understand from my discussions with Mr. Johnson before that the size of the boundary of that area will be a matter for consideration doing this. I'm going to look to, well, I can't say that I suppose, but I doubt very much you're going to look to reduce the area. There's opportunities for people to put things forward that might increase the area. So it's still going to be the subject of those sorts of questions of the with a report to be brought back.
The committee will be.
But my question is, was there a council resolution on the 7th of June 2012, resolution 12/235, that endorsed the expansion, that the recommendation that came back on the expanding of the heritage conservation area? Because when I read through the stuff, that was identified in a study that was done in 2011 and 2012.
How
Was
about
that endorsed or was it a draft policy that was endorsed? There's a big difference.
there's a few blank faces. How about we take it on notice?
Notice if you don't mind, yeah.
I'll want a memo back
happy
to the
do that.
councillors.
Thank you. All right. Everyone's familiar with all in favour? Thank you. Point 7 is the traffic generated by the southern feeder road.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it would be on the side.
Yeah, the 5.7. Thanks, Councillor Taylor. Seconder?
Yep.
Councillor Duffy.
More a question, Mr Mayor. Where it says that as the Southern Feeder Road progresses, that the road be named Blowes Road. We're anticipating it's going to be Blowes Road from Bathurst Road right through to Plowman's Lane, or where's Blowes Road going to finish?
Whole length of it is on.
I asked why. Why isn't it named the Southern Feeder Road? We've got the Northern Distributor.
I agree.
Why is it? I know at the moment we've got the Mitchell Highway and it's Bathurst Road, Summer Street, Woodward Street, Molong Road, that it's officially Mitchell Highway all the way through, but I can't understand why we're going to rename the Southern Feeder Road Blowes Road. Where's it come from?
Through you, Mr Mayor, it's just a proposal. It could be named a number of things. Southern Feeder Road is an appropriate name for it as well.
Well, it's a proposal, but if we pass this tonight, it becomes Blowes Road.
So it's in your hands tonight to go with Blowes Road or pick another name.
Well,
I
I'd
think
like
you've
to
got one
move
in
an
mind.
amendment that it'd be
Councillor
Southern Feeder
Munro,
Road
before you say, can you let him say what it is?
It's always been my understanding it would be the Southern Feeder Road from Bathurst Road. That I would move that amendment would be the Southern Feeder Road from Bathurst Road right through. We'll worry about it when we get to Plowman's Lane.
Yeah.
In the meantime, just leave it as the Southern Feeder Road.
Oh, I second it.
The mover and seconder happy with that?
Yes. Yes.
You're
I'm
quite happy
more
with
than
that?
happy with it.
So, we've got the recommendation that the road be named. We're changing it to the Southern Feeder
Southern
Road.
feeder.
You happy with that, Councillor Taylor?
more than happy
Seconder, happy with that?
Yes.
More than happy with that, Mr Mayor.
Sorry, Duffy, alternate.
We've changed the motion.
And changed. Okay, so the motion,
motion.
recommendation is that the body of the report and the road be named Southern. Right, Councillor Taylor was on his feet first there.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, look, just a comment. It really is a point of concern with me as far as the priority road from Eaton. That section of road really is going to be suggestion that exists at the top of Anson. Both times of day, both ends of the 8:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock onward. Anton Street is just choking. Probably from Mulder Street onward. If you've ever tried to drive up there in the morning, particularly, probably a 10-15 minute trip. Once the Southern Feeder Road, which I'm extremely happy that we've once that's in place, that will alleviate a lot of the traffic problems because it goes south for a lot of the traffic up there. I'm acutely aware the federal member failed to achieve any funding for that. That's very disappointing. I know that we've probably got contingencies in place for 21, but I'd really think sections that section needs to. So I would ask Mr. Mayor, really treat that as a priority once the election is out of the way, whatever party is in. Really stress that as it is vitally important for that. That school was put there, and I alluded to it earlier, way back in 1976. No houses up there. Very narrow road up there in Easton. Bottleneck. Same with of course, Mr. Mayor, on the Horseshoe Bridge. That has to be done. That needs to be done in conjunction with that southern feeder road to take some of the burden off the current situation. So I really think we need to sharpen our pencil. Treat it as a priority. Bring it forward if we have to. Let's go face to face with politicians that will, whatever ilk they are.
Couldn't agree with you more, Councillor Taylor.
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to get into a name-changing debate, but if we've got a northern distributor, why don't we have a southern distributor? Like, why we got to go distributor feeder?
If it's southern feeder,
I do. I was going to say,
distributor. Have a distributor if you want it.
Mr. Mayor, I was going to.
Distributor or whatever we agree on.
I've got a problem with it because if you live on the southern side of town, then the southern distributor is actually a northern road, right?
Northern people.
Call it Northern Road 1.
Can I can I just suggest we've said the southern feeder road, but Councillor Hamling, it could be southern distributor. I think you're right.
It goes northern distributor, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The other one is
North of the northern distributor.
The
General
north side of
Manager's
the
got
northern
to answer
distributor,
your
then that's
question,
the southern
Councillor.
distributor.
Going back in time, of course, the link along Ploughman's Lane across to the Escort Way going to be a lesser standard road with a lower speed limit. Why we coined the phrase Southern Link Road historically. If we ever build the stage that goes further out and around, but it was meaningful to people in the Ploughman's Lane area. Had a different name going back 2007 where there was a big issue about that. So that's why we've got that.
Send it to her.
Councillor McRae.
Can I commend the writer of the report? This is probably the best explanation I've had of that road plan, and I'm regularly asked by members of the public what's going on with the road here, there, rail crossings, etc. So this is absolutely fantastic, and it's great to see that it's in the meeting and out in the public domain. I'd also like to comment that, look, I may not be a road planner and have a lot of experience on council with roads, but we've been applying for funding for the Southern Feeder Road. And if we keep the name consistent, perhaps that will get a little bit more resonance. If we keep changing the names, then everybody gets lost literally in terms of navigating the funding streams, is also navigating the actual road. So
I'm sure that will
decide
happen.
and stick with it.
I'm sure. No. I think when we've built it, right? No worries. We'll call it what we like, and we've just decided to be Southern Distributor or Southern Feed. In the meantime, I agree. We've got all sorts of applications and things happening there at the moment. I don't even care if they call it Mars Road. All I want's funding. Councillor Duffy.
Mr. Mayor, one of the things that Councillor McRae did touch on, I requested this report to come to Council a couple of months ago to give the people in Orange an understanding, and especially the Ploughman's Lane people, so they'd have an idea of what Council's intentions was. And this is the first time I've seen something in black and white with pictures to say how it's all going to link together. And we've all received some reports from the Director, Mr. Greenham, and I'd like to congratulate him and Jason for their report that we received here today, and I think it's very important. Distributor, Southern Feeder, toss a coin.
As long as it's not Duffy.
Okay, all in favour? Aye, against, thank you. That concludes...
Item in the bats.
You all voted for it.
Yeah, that's the bat.
You all voted in favour. That debate was interesting.
What bats?
Yeah, the General Manager will advise the Council if any written submissions have been received relating to any item advertised for consideration by a closed meeting of Orange City Council. I extend an invitation to any member of the public present at the meeting to make a representation to Council as to whether the meeting should be closed for a particular item. In accordance with the Local Government Act of 1993,
Aware of any written submission?
no written submissions. Sorry, Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I might be out of whack, but I'm hearing around the room here that the bats, nobody seemed to know that it went through. I was actually waiting for it.
Voted for it.
Is that right? We all agree that
Back at the beginning of the meeting.
It was a mayoral minute, you are correct.
I'm correct, it's a mayoral minute, and I asked for a mover and a seconder, and we got a mover and a seconder, and I put the vote, and it was unanimous.
I seen it there and then I recalled that we
just a question.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I didn't realise. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I didn't realise we were voting on it. I thought we were voting on allowing it as a late item. That's what I thought we were.
That's what I thought we were on too.
A minute, it's true.
I register my.
You can register what you like.
Mr. Mayor, can I move the
I
amendment?
didn't vote for it. I
Ah,
I move a shadow motion on it. Shadow motion on it. Why not?
because it's been passed. It's true, it was unanimous. Now, the items to be considered enclosed are 6.1, lease of the New South Wales Telco Authority, 181 Isley Road, 6.2, sale of 61 Casey Street, Orange, and 6.3, tenders for Burrangong Way upgrade stage 4. The reason for confidentiality, these items are classified as confidential under the provisions of section 10A in brackets 2 in bracket C, information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom the council is conducting, or in brackets proposes to conduct business. Just make sure the live streaming is off.